Okay, this evening I'll do again the game, but there was a couple of things. Well, last time I could tell I was tired when I couldn't even calculate 7,500 times 100, which is 750,000, not 75,000. Like that would be a good bit. Also, Spades was ousted in 2000, not 2008. And then when I was talking about Dickinson, I think I said the moon when I meant the song. But so also there was something about with Chris Cuomo. I understand, you know, I totally understand and agree that when his brother was facing accusations, you know, he's gonna stay out of that. I mean, you know, there's conflict of interest, and I think everybody, you know, anybody with a head would be like, well, yeah, that would be normal. However, him talking to his brother and advising his brother, this is his personal life. I mean, everybody should be professional enough out there to, you know, separate, you know, personal relationships with professional relationships and duties and obligations and that. But that he was criticized apparently by CNN colleagues, or I don't know, it was management or who, that he shouldn't have even been, you know, discussing anything with his brother and advising him. I guess there had been some communications at the beginning that were kind of gray. I'm not really sure about that. But this about he shouldn't advise his brother, I was just like, what's going on here? I really don't. It just, it's a right. It's a violation of right of privacy. It's a violation of rights of, you know, free speech. I don't know. It's all over the map. So I didn't understand that, and how that would fly. Although I guess CNN, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's not just CNN. It's MSNBC. It's Fox News. It's everybody. Because when I first started, you know, already in Spain in 2007, you know, posting, it was comments and you know, the stuff would be shut down, you know, taken off all the time. That didn't violate any, they just didn't like it. And in 2010, there was a whole bunch of initiatives that started. Glenn Greenwald was one of those in that group of I mean, counted those ones. I don't know how many there are, but I know it's just like reproduced like rabbits since the 2010, and it's just added more cacophony, more jobs for the journalists. However, one of the positive things that came out of that was there was a more liberal, you know, posting, and the big wigs had to kind of catch up to speed, and they don't shut you down as much as they used to. I mean, I never post anything, you know, with well, sometimes nowadays, but everybody is. But, you know, when I started, at least, you know, no profanity, no threats, no, you know, accusations of anything, you know, attacking people or anything that was out of their guidelines. Yeah, they didn't like it, so they just so that I just didn't, I didn't understand what was going on there. I think that was it. Yeah, I mean, journalists should be, freedom of speech. Isn't that something you guys should be like, no way. Oh, and then I guess last night I also forgot with the story that I was telling about at Cobham Hall, and I had been called into the headmistress's office after lunch, and I'm going, oh my God, like, what did I get caught for? And, all of it was the shenanigans. But of course, my friends were concerned because they're like, well, what did you get caught for? Because the more we got caught as well. And I'm standing there and like, oh God, my mom's gonna kill me. My mom's gonna kill me. And Miss Hanson says to me, no, I just wanted to call you in and say, how wonderful you've integrated in the school and what a wonderful job you're doing. Because I was the only, well, there was one other American there, and she was a year ahead of me or 2 years ahead of me. But she had lived in Hong Kong all of her life. So, I mean, she wasn't, she wasn't a real Amerilock. So, I guess there might have been some concerns or something like that about the American coming in, because believe me, there are a lot of American expats who are obnoxious. So, okay, I'll start with the game now. But so what I did for this, see, this is my favorite part of playing cards with everybody. I actually could have been, croupiers or something, except I got a real problem with casinos, so that wouldn't work out too well. So these are the Wonderland and Alice cards. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those aside, and it'll be like comments. I'll pick each one at the end or something. So as I say, I'm still trying to figure out all the rules of this little game. But even try it. Although don't stack your cards in favor of one or the others. So here, I'm still working on this, but I don't want to show it each time until I get it up. I won't go over everything, but it is the Global Protection Rackets holding up the House of Cards. Hopefully I'll have this done by tomorrow or the next day. So let's start. My coins over here. Still haven't been working in it for more buckets. Oh, and I do hope everybody in Louisiana is okay. I was looking at the hurricane stuff there. At least it looks like, the levees have been reinforced. Like, why did that happen? How many, people had to die in Katrina for somebody to take notice? And they're just, as long as there's not a surge, they should be okay, because then it's just rainwater. But it was a couple of years ago, there was some, hurricane watch or tropical storm, and I went on Facebook and sent a message to one of our friends in Covington. And I'm like, because I saw Mandeville in the lake. And I mean, the water was just all over the place. And Enid was like, oh, we're used to that. That's normal. That's nothing. Believe me, oh Lord, particularly after, having grown up in Tucson, Arizona. And when my parents moved there after we came back from England, when I would see the rainwater climbing up. In Arizona, you don't have enough water. There you got too much. So okay, let's do this. Okay, there's some that are falling out. Okay, let's take these. So I have too many. I still have to go through a lot of these and work on it. Oh my goodness, I got a lot of women cards here. It's almost, oh gosh, I have one of my, I'm just gonna take a lot of women cards there. Okay, but it's, oh my Lord, it's almost all the women one. So four, it's almost 11 o'clock, so let's leave it at 4. So we've got 4, file number 1. Congressional members, we've got a Maloney in there, Boxer, Gillibrand, Landrieu, Eleanor, Holmes, Norton. Oh, this is going to be a good one. Then we got the Alpha-Dominance Feminist NGOs, enslavement of homemakers. Then housing rights. Oh, I've already gone into this one. Because those are the, the houses that I've had, but I've already went into that. I'll take another card. Let's see, take a minute. Oh, this is Carol Joint and Ann Pincus. And this pile, we've got Ingrid Betancourt, Esther Betancourt, Louis Fiaf, Patricia Etienne, c'est the ambassador's wife, the French ambassador's wife here in Washington now. We got another California Parent Protection Association with Connie Valentine started that, Mothers of Lost Children. Oh, this is gonna be there's a little devil up there sending me some cards. Look at the thumbnail that I did for today. One for the jugular. Everybody wants to play hardball with me. We play hardball. I mean, this is, I don't look for a fight with anyone, ever. But I have one rule. You look for a fight with me, we play by your rules. You want to play dirty, we play dirty. So this is the next one. Domestic violence NGOs. Oh, I've got Winnie Mandela on here. Queen Elizabeth II, Queen Victoria, Queen Mother, Lord Mountbatten. Oh my goodness, my goodness. Okay, this is pile 3. Betty Friedan, Rand Eisler. Gonzalez Linehan versus USA 2011. And with the DC court system, that would be in terms of my landlord. Oh, Melania Trump. Yeah, I don't care. Do you? Let them eat cake. Okay, I do have some notes here that's going to be interesting. Democratic Party, we've got Hillary Clinton versus Nancy Pelosi. Elizabeth Warren 2020. Women's National Democratic Club, Nucci Poirier. Okay. Yeah, this is not going to be a quick one. Let me just turn up the air conditioning. Okay. Wait. Oh, well, I guess I could talk about one little thing. Okay, so. Okay, everybody again gets a little coin. Okay, so let's start with the first one. What are we gonna do first? I think we'll do here. The congressional members. And this, because I got a pack ball. This is boxer Gillibrand. I don't know if it's Gillibrand or Gillibrand. Landrieu, I think she replaced, well, came in after Senator Bennett Johnston stepped down, but she was, I don't know if there was somebody between them, but she was, you know, in his position. So when I got to the United States, I did go to her office and said, okay, I don't live in Louisiana, but, you know, I did live there. I worked for the senator. You know, I have tons of cousins there. So, you know, there was, and I was born in New Orleans, so there was a legitimate reason, because this is one of the issues when we get international case, you know, people abroad, to get the constituent request, you go through your congressional state or house member of your state. If you're living abroad, of course, you don't have that. So, you know, there's always, okay, where do you have family? Where did you last live? And establish who we ask for a constituent request. So let's see, boxer, I'm trying to remember if that's not Jana Smith's case. I forget, because there was a case in Singapore. I'm pretty sure that went through Gillibrand. This is on my activism website. If you go and scroll down to the cases on the right sidebar, if you scroll down all the way, there's all of the different cases. I mean, I don't have that many who contacted me. Anybody who did. Yeah, we've got Sims. No, Schlesinger is in England. Sims, Brian, Wayner. So I'm gonna have to look it up. But we did get, and I'm pretty sure the Gillibrand case is the one in Singapore. And the kids were taken to Bali. This then gets into international trafficking, because the daughters were going to do stuff that they shouldn't be doing. And, you know, the mom was, and there was a lot of stuff going on there. But of course, the court's there hanging the mother up to dry. boxer again. I said, I can't remember who, but we got a constituent request into her. Oh, when I did Ted Cruz, I hadn't mentioned that Ted Cruz got a constituent request from me as well. Ignored me. My mom was like, okay, for John McCain, she wouldn't have done it. Ted Cruz was safe because, of course, you know, they gave some money when he first started his campaign for senator. And was a big supporter, but I mean, they had no money. So, you know, she had no pull there. And then Eleanor Holmes Norton. Now, Eleanor Holmes Norton got a constituent request from me. However, she is also the congresswoman. She's the only congressperson for Washington, D.C. At her, because she has, of course, her constituent office in Washington. It's like behind Union Station or somewhere around there. Of course, her congressional office is on Capitol Hill. So when it goes to her congressional office, they take it to her congressional office. When it goes through the constituent part, I go the home office. I go there, and there, a bunch of kids sitting around doing nothing. Prima donnas, entitled idiots. I've gone there several times. I've been to her office several times. Oh, when they ousted me and prevented me, the little girls from ICD prevented me in collusion with the CSO reps over there at the World Bank for the 2016 annual meetings. I went to her as well. Useless. These officers do nothing but sit around and schmizz and organize these important meetings and these important programs. And this is why Trump got in. Washington's a swamp. So, and then Carolyn Maloney, because I did 4 different committees. I forget again, it's on there, but anything that had anything to do with women's rights or human rights, I think there were probably 2 on the House side, 2 on the Senate side. And every single time I call up the office, okay, who's the staffer who handles this? And then I send it to them. And then I call back up and I say, did you, I sent this person an email. Most of the time I'll get sent to voicemail, of course, never hear back from anybody. But one of, I would say, the most important, because this is a caucus, someone funds the committee, I'm on the caucus. They got so many up there, and blah, 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 with any brown nosers that will tell them what they want. So this is the American Abroad Caucus, and this was started by Carolyn Maloney. She's I think she's still the head of that, the chair. I remember like a year, 2 years, maybe after I contacted them, I see Paola Lucas with them buddy getting an award. See, the more awards they have, the more trouble they're gonna be in. Anytime they want to make somebody look good, they just give them another award. So that's that. Then we go to the next. Well, yeah, let's do the child protection, the California Parent Protection Agents Association, and Mothers of Lost Children. Now I'm not really sure who or what group Mothers of Lost Children is headed up by, and you know, the whole structure there. I've gone to the demonstrations they do. They did always a Mother's Day in front of the White House, and then, you know, march around. And I mean, the problem is that never gains any traction because there's so much egos and infighting and backstabbing and committees and I mean, that's why people get frustrated and just drop out. And I mean, a lot of them give up or just, you know, they don't give up on their own case, but they're like, I'm not gonna waste my money coming to this. So that was taken over. I know that, oh my Lord, there was, you know, attempted coups to get rid of Connie during, I forget, it kind of really started. Connie had been in for a long time. She had started it like 30 years before. Well, this is another thing with Connie. The first time that I went to the demonstration on Mother's Day, it was 2009. And it was actually Dawn Meyer, when I had gone to see her, she's like, oh, you need to go over to the demonstration instead of listening to anything that I have to say. No, you got to go and get with the ladies to demonstrate. I mean, I'm sure she is totally oblivious to everything that I've been doing. I'm sure none of these experts have looked at any of this stuff. So, you know, I go over and I'm talking to Connie because, you know, who's in charge? So I go and I'm talking to Connie and I said, look, Connie, I know a lot of people like with a lot of money as well, because you want anything like this, we need money. I mean, not a lot compared to what's being thrown out there, but still, you need, you know, and do the demonstrations. These people have no money. They have, you know, just a lot of the logistical things. And because I said, you know, the boarding schools I went to, I mean, that's how I'd come up with the idea for Global Expat, and just people that I know, you know, you guys are already together, organized. Let's, you know, try and knock on some doors and see if we can get some donations for you guys, and, you know, move this up into some more powerful people than in the hands that it is right now. And she's like, oh no, I know, I have the same background or something. I mean, those weren't her exact words. But then we had, it would have been the next year. This was up at Capitol Hill, and we were being taught how to lobby. And I'm like, excuse me, you go and get the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence lobbyist, a Black young woman, who I meet with after she'd given the lesson. It was, I forget what the house is called. It's the Women's Rights House, right next to the Hart Building. Yeah, I meet with her and I say, well, you know, this is what I'm working on. This, you know, I'm focused on the international stuff. And she's like, oh, what you all need is a new civil rights movement. Oh, okay. Well, why aren't you guys moving on it? That's what I tell the other activists. I'm like, well, that's what she said we need. So that's what we need. We need an ideology. We need a political platform. We need to organize. You know, there's a whole bunch of things that you got to do. Yeah, well, I've been kind of left holding that bag all by myself. I'm like, well, okay, I can do it by myself, but it's a lot of work. Like, today I did, administrative work takes time. And yeah, the computers are really good, but sometimes it's not uploading right, or sometimes it's spinning around, and so you got to refresh, and then you got to check, and our links work. There's a whole bunch of little stuff, and it's not rocket science, but you need to have somebody who brainless and just diligent and not full of himself and not afraid to, okay, not looking to be the center of attention. So, there was, I would say from the beginning when I started with these ladies in the movement, there was, the people vying, saying, Connie's gonna leave, Connie's gonna step down, because yes, effectively, she did have health issues, and she was getting very, very elderly. In fact, she recently passed. Thank her for all of the efforts and everything that she did, because she did, start it and get the ball kind of moving and organize a lot. But it just never progressed, and they've been stuck in these circular debates and just as I say, after 5-6 years, I was like, look, you guys, this is a waste of my time. It's a waste of your time. So, but it's typical. They're just following the lead of what everybody else is doing. So then this is kind of when I was like, okay, I'm done. It was the October Domestic Violence Coalition Against Domestic Violence, October, Domestic Violence Month in 2015, when I was like, yet another documentary, espousing the propaganda that this is a poor people's problem. Even one of the women there, another victim, she's like, I'm so sick and tired of this, because it was some, woman in backwater West Virginia, and she was like, damn it, just they keep on promoting this, false narrative and image bullshit. So that was, I was like, yeah, okay, that's the last cocktail party. I'm going to go to you all. And then I went, so the demonstration, they had, so I'm not sure if this was 2015, 2016, maybe it was 2015. The May demonstrations, and then we went to lobby up on Capitol Hill, which we had already been doing for maybe 4 years or so. And when I asked Connie Valentine, I said, Connie, who's been contacted? You have a list. Oh no, we didn't keep track. I mean, thank God with the emails and everything, you have the physical evidence. But see, that this is another one of my pet peeves. I'm like, wait a second, you do something like this, you've got to keep all your records straight. And so when we do get to the end of the line, this is also that they're going up there, help us, help us, help us, help us, we're poor, victims, help us, help us, help us, help us, help us. Ooh, that's not been my position from day one. This is your job, you better damn well do it. You don't, we'll see your ass in court. Get in line. That's not how you talk to congressional people. Particularly if you don't have any money. As I said to one young girl at ICD, I said, oh, lobbying's easy. You can buy them or you can shame them. They keep on taking all my money, so I only have the shame game, but no worries. My mother was Catholic. And I don't know who born in the market, the Jews, the Catholic, or the Muslim women, the mothers, but mine taught me well, so I know how to play the shame game. No problem, no problem. I can insult you and denigrate you, spit on you just like the best of them. And much better because I've got a lot sharper tongue, and there's force to my words. It's not just empty threats. When people ask me, "Are you threatening?" I don't make threats. I never make threats. I only make promises. And I'll keep them if it kills me. Which all this crap is almost done a couple of times with my blood pressure. So anyway, the woman who stepped in after I say there was all the political infighting, and I've asked the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence if we can have a chapter for Americans abroad, because we have 7 million of them living abroad. So that's legitimate. I mean, it is as big as a state. And, never heard back, because that would get my foot in the door and into the discussions and say, oh, National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I mean, I want to see them in court as much as I do when it's linked worldwide. Carrie Bettinger Lopez, a whole slew of them. So anyway, the California Protective Parent Association was taken over by a woman, or headed, Catherine Campbell. Now she's corporate all the way. I forget which companies she worked for, but corporate all the way. So of course, I mean, I'm sure she sold it on the idea with her corporate, friends and contacts. She could help maybe with donors. I don't know, that's speculation. However, what she fails to understand, because she's never read anything that I'm doing, she's never looked at anything that I've been doing. Kathy Lee Cato told me, no, their eyes glaze over because they can't follow you. Anytime I get off their little tiny issue, they don't understand. I'm like, how can you build coalitions with people like that who don't want to listen to what you have to say? All they want to do is talk about their new book or their case, which, this is, another issue that's going on in there and everything. You got to let people speak. And it's not just for this one or that one who's gotten up the pecking order. And, and so we go in with a group to the congressional offices and talk to the staffer. Well, everybody's supposed to say, okay, my case is where and where, but you're supposed to keep it very, very, very short, which I understand, because there's a lot of emotional people coming in here, and a lot of them will go off and talk about their specific cases, and which is, we can't all do that. We wouldn't get anywhere. So it is. However, I start saying, okay, my case is in Spain, but I'm going to the international courts. And if people, don't start doing their jobs, that I'm going to see them there. And she won't let me finish. They should be giving me a voice instead of trying to shut me up when we go to these meetings. I get it. They organized it, but work together. You'll never get anywhere with all of this infighting and Queens for a day. And when Kathy Campbell was like, I mean, there's this, I think there's also, because nobody has said this to me, but I think that because I've gotten, not within this group, but other people who are like, I'm being treasonous. I'm the one who's being treasonous to my country. Well, that's pretty much the stance with my family as well. You're not supposed to say anything. You're supposed to protect their reputation, their honor. But what they don't understand is I am the one who's protecting their reputation and honor. Because if this continues, I mean, the American reputation and honor, reputation all over the world, right? Trump did great damage, but I've heard it, I've gotten an earful, and a lot of what I went through in Spain, the discrimination was attacking the rich American, the imperialist. Why do you think that in Colombia? Well, I'll talk about that when we're at that thing. So, thank God I'd already seen that, so I wasn't even going to start going to the Women's March. And I'm sorry, when they're putting those little things on their heads, I mean, how vulgar. Yeah, no. I don't know who came up with that one, but I think there are more dignified ways to demonstrate. I mean, okay, you can see, I don't see it there, but I have a John Dickinson, one of those colonial hats that I did because we had at Succotash. We were supposed to dress up for Halloween, people who were working. So I just dressed up as John Dickinson and, had, I don't know, some banners and everything like that. Oh, but the black Marilyn Monroe won out. Oh, we'll see her in the cards. So then with this, there's Kelly Rutherford, who is, oh gosh, which I forget which sitcom that is. It's the Gossip Girl. I don't think so. I think that was actually Chris Cuomo's wife. I know she's an actress on one of these things, and it's about some prep school. Something. I'm like, oh my Lord, you do have a sense of humor. How the world is very small. So the thing is, Kelly Rutherford's case is interesting in that, my thing is I'm like, see, they're deporting American children abroad in this whole thing. So I won't get into all of the details. She's this New York actress. I'm sure some of you out there have heard of her and know who she is. Again, I think I went on YouTube one time to see the sitcom, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I think about 5 minutes into it, I was like, okay, I got the picture. So her case, so they were living in the United States the entire time. New York, and then I guess sometimes California, because California came in. They were, doing some foreign shopping, I know, on family courts. This is another thing I keep on saying: stop with your foreign shopping for a family court that's going to favor you, and let's clean up the courts. The favorite globally is England. And it's not because they have the best legal system, because they don't. It's, goes back, I'm sure, to with everything I'm arguing about John Dickinson, that, that through the courts, through a democratic process and upholding rights of citizens, that's where you really apply democracy. So, they got divorced. Then he actually had to leave the United States. I don't know if it was tax or some fraud or exactly, but apparently he had to leave the United States for legal reasons and couldn't be here and live here. So he went to Monaco. Instead of going back to Germany, he was in Monaco. So the judge in the United States deported the children so they could be with the father, because the father couldn't live on American soil. Well, didn't the judge say, well, wait a second, why can't this guy be on American soil? What did he do? Like, we're not going to give American children over to some, a criminal. I mean, what's going on there? That's ridiculous. As I say, I can't know the details of every single case that I look at, but so Kelly Rutherford, everybody just love Kelly Rutherford because, of course, she has the voice of the press. Now, why isn't she using that to help others and expose all of the problems instead of, just trying to get her children? I'm not sure exactly what's going on at that at present. So, I'm like, ding, 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 is nobody finding, I don't know. Like the only one out there who goes, something's wrong here. So anyway, Kelly Rutherford was at the Battered Mothers Custody Conference in 2015 when I gave my presentation, Violence Against Women as Human Rights Violation. When Phyllis Chesler got up and walked out for I have no reason. I mean, everybody's got to start talking to each other. There is no problem in okay, what is it? Well, okay, I don't agree with that, and this is my opinion. Instead, well, I don't agree with that. You don't know what you're talking about. Or total silence. And colluding with others to get rid of you so that you get stuck up on the podium. I mean, I'm sorry, everybody is looking to get on a podium and cash in and promote their books. So Kelly Rutherford was there. So I tried to talk to Kelly Rutherford without, mobbing her like, everybody else. But, I was like, oh, hi, Kelly. My name's da. I went to school with Cornelia Guest, hoping to drop the name Cornelia, like I was at school with Cornelia. It would pique her interest, and she'd be like, oh, this is somebody, that not one of the ladies in waiting and the fan club. But no, she was like, oh, I love Cornelia. And then, and then, she's whisked away by the other ladies who don't want me to be in the limelight with Kelly Rutherford or whatever their agenda is. And she's there. Wendy Murphy is there because Wendy Murphy is her lawyer. Now, Wendy Murphy is very affirmative actionist. But again, this is just another of those lawyers out there. She's all over Fox News. This, of course, gets her in the news. But, Wendy Murphy is just another one of those cashing in, just like Gloria Allred and all of those. Why won't they take the cases that I'm preparing and submit them to the international courts? Help me. If they don't feel competent enough to be going to the international courts, they can certainly use their contacts and say, look, you guys, let's submit. And then they would rake up. I mean, the kind of money that all of these lawyers could be making if we just get the jurisprudence in the international courts, challenging Gonzalez Carreño versus Spain 2014, easy breezy. I mean, I chewed them up and spit them when I saw that, because I had already prepared the case, but I couldn't find any to submit. But so when I saw that jurisprudence, I was like, oh my God, you guys, come on. Here, my case challenges this like that for these guys. And 2011 as well, we can challenge that. Easy breezy. So that was the Gonzalez Linehan case, 2011. So and El Colmo, Wendy Murphy, like whispers in my ear, tell him to get violent. See? There are people working behind the scenes on many different things. Oh, I'm sure Wendy Murphy's not like this. Oh, and particularly what I'm going to have to say right now. Because Kelly Rutherford and Wendy Murphy, they've started an NGO and with donations. Forget the name of it. And so then I saw on YouTube some clip of a video that Melanie Griffin and Caitlyn Jenner had gone to one of Kelly Rutherford's fundraising, coffees or whatever in Hollywood. And I'm like, wait a second, yet another NGO. A lot of stuff. I mean, they are pretending to be helping all of these different cases and everything. I remember I saw one case in there and I'm like, wait a second, you're pretending, you're contending that you're helping this case, but this case was started before I think your NGO was, where this case occurred. Needs to be verified. That's why it's important, that regulatory agencies and all of these people are being properly overseen. However, pretty sure because everybody else is doing it. In fact, that's why they have to keep on closing up one NGO and then open up another one under another name. Change the mission a little bit. Is that it's just to pay for Kelly Rutherford's legal fees, because they would say she's bankrupt like everybody else. But no, Kelly Rutherford, her kids, just like everybody else. So that's that group. So let's do, well, here I was talking about Gonzalez Linehan. We'll finish that up and then I'll go quickly with this one. So the other jurisprudence, this is the first jurisprudence, right? Bettinger Lopez was the lead counsel on that. So with everything that's going on in the courts, I mean, that's what, when I heard that jurisprudence, I'm pretty sure I already said that in another video, that the American government claimed that they didn't have control over the state governments. And, I said, well, we can challenge the legitimacy of the American government under the Constitution and Bill of Rights, because that's their job. So Carrie Bettinger Lopez goes and works for Biden, so of course she gets in bed with the wolves. However, I also, since I mean, can't get them to lead the charge, with the DC court system, when I went through that was one of my main objectives in well, also telling that little so-and-so a thing or two. Well, of course, you know, she thinks that she's won. She won the battle, but she didn't win the war. Oh, I've known, believe me, since I've been back, I've lost, you know, skirmishes. Ask any general, or, you know, those who go to war, you're going to lose some skirmishes if you go to war. You know, you can't win every skirmish in every battle. That's why you have to prepare for your battles. And when it looks like, sometimes you're like, okay, we gotta retreat right now, reinforce our forces, and then we'll go back for the attack. So, yeah, DC courts, incredible. I won't go into that to great length, but you know, it took me 8 months. That's why I'm like, oh, I already went through boot camp my last time through DC landlord tenant court. Now I know, you know, a lot of the rules of the game, and well, I mean, see, this is again, yes, I'm at a great disadvantage in terms of procedural law, in terms of any kind of jurisprudence, in terms of what's going on in the lower courts. Because it's like, well, I don't even care. And of course, the case would have to go in there, and you know, explain it. And this is one of the things also, I go in, this judge doesn't want to hear about all of my preparation for the international courts. Oh my God, the woman's crazy. Although it is relevant, but he's not going to understand that, I know. Oh my God, you should see some of the people, or most of the people who come through this place. And they've got the stupidest, they got the big boys legal clinic and the little boys legal clinic. One's for the students to train them how to violate the rights of the litigants. Ooh, I promise you, the director of the little boys clinic, he's a big without a paddle. And then the big boys clinic, a little better, but not much. These guys have actually graduated from most. So, you know, once again, I got you on RICO, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, Patriot Act, Article 6 and Article 7 of Rome Statutes. Pick your poison, people. Okay, oh, this fall over. You know. So my card, oh, I got a joker. Still trumps everybody. So as I said, I'm going to take these and pass it out, and I'll read these each one, and we'll see kind of how that might be applicable. So for the congressional members, which is Boxer, Gillibrand, Landrieu, Maloney, Eleanor, Holmes, Norton, we need to put a lot of them there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll be nice and not put one for every member of the American Abroad's caucus. 2, 4, and then 5. I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing. You make one quite giddy. Actually, I already saw this one. But yeah, you little ladies are making us real giddy. You get up there on the podium and then you just disappear when the real work is to be done. So for Kelly Rutherford, Wendy Murphy, Melanie Griffith, Caitlyn Jenner, Mothers of Lost Children, Connie Valentine, and Catherine Campbell. We've got the Queen of Clubs. Curtsy while you're thinking what to say. It saves time. Oh no, this is too funny. This is too funny. That's all they know how to do is curtsy. And think what you should say. Oh, it saves time. One of my favorite stories was some, 5-star general or, in the military, this big brass. Of course, this was on the news, and he was telling a story that the best advice he had ever gotten in his job in the military was after getting out of the academy for the officers. He, I guess they go to some boot camp, and he had this salty old sergeant who just barked in his face and said, "Before you open your mouth, think about what you're gonna say." And I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. I wish everybody would bark in somebody's mouth in Washington. Does anybody think about what they are going to say before they open their mouths, or do they just and then try and recoup and cover up for all of their gaffes? See, this is where manners and etiquette comes in. Oh, believe me, many of times, I bite my tongue. Believe it or not, everybody, I bite my tongue a lot. But sometimes I'll be sitting there stewing, going, okay, just waiting for the right moment for that little viperous tongue will shoot now. Cut them off the knees, cut off their balls. One time, my ex-brother-in-law, and I know he hates me. Well, he's always hated me because I don't speak shit from him. It was the family dinner table, and some woman. I won't go into that story. I'm sure the cards will come up. I was fit to be tied. I don't even remember what I said. I was so angry, and I literally thought he was gonna get up and like punch me. So okay, yeah. Curtsy while you're thinking what to say. It saves time. Saves time. The ladies in this town, I think I'm gonna have to scan this one as well. So for the Gonzalez-Linehan versus USA DC court systems, we have all mimsy were the Horgoves and the Mome Rats outgrave. Well, you're gonna have to Google what's a mimsy, what's a Borgove, a Mome Rat, outgrave, but let's just say it's cacophony and bullshit. That goes pretty good with the DC courts. Okay, and then mine is that's the effect of living backwards. It always makes one a little giddy at first. I think we saw that one as well. I have to shuffle these maybe a little bit better. Okay, so I get I really let's put it over here separate. I really cleaned up on that one. And wait a second. Because for Kelly Rutherford, I only gave one. Because we'll do one there, but I do get another because I think it was just here that I gave the person. So Can't remember now if I did it for this one or not. Oh, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, I'm getting rich already. Okay. Oops. So. Okay, let's. I've already gone quite a while. I think I started close to 11 o'clock, so I'll try and not take too long on these. Okay. So the next we're gonna do, let's do Carol Joint and Ann Pinkers. Okay, Carol Joint, she was married, if anybody is familiar with Washington, D.C., Georgetown, and this goes back to the 60s, 70s. I must have been open in the 60s. Nathan's at the corner of Wisconsin and M. Nathan's was an institution in Georgetown back in the day. You know, there was nothing downtown except drug addicts and prostitutes. So, I mean, the only reason I ever went down there was the Martin Luther King Library was down there. And I was so poor, I didn't have money always for the my school books. So I if I can find them, I check them out at the library and even renew them and do stuff like that. So I go down there and see if I can get some books there. She was married to, I forget what his name is, but he was, Papa's boy, if you will. His father, I forget, had some money and came for money. And, was constantly bailing his son out because his son had Nathan's, but was in, all sorts of, I think there was some Social Security fraud stuff there, tax fraud, all sorts of fraud stuff. And one of these guys who keeps the wolves at bay because he keeps on, taking from this cookie jar or that cookie jar or that cookie jar. Meanwhile, they're living the good life. They got a yacht, they've got the house out in, they had a place out in Leesburg. In fact, they were living out in Leesburg for a while. She was apparently abused, I guess, not severely like I'm seeing some of these cases, but he was hitting her. And, she was, she even says that she was all caught up into that, party scene that's going on around Middleburg and Leesburg and that entire area. And that she just closed her eyes and was seduced by that life, like so many other rags to riches stories. I think her father might have been like military or something, but from a middle class family, and was seduced by the jet setting. Okay, but DC, it's not jet setting so much because they pretty much stay here. But the whole, cool crowd in Washington, the in crowd, the party crowd, which of course, Nathan's was an institution in the watering hole for back in the 60s and 70s. That was one of the places to see and be seen, and it was one of those powerhouses where they all go for happy hour, and it was a bustling place. I mean, we went in maybe a couple of times to Nathan's, but Nathan's was like old and proud, or we would go to Clyde's Usually we come in from Foxcroft on the weekends for these shopping trips or something. We usually go to Claude's for lunch. We come in and we could come to Washington like for a weekend. Somebody would invite you, or sometimes parents would come and they'd have the hotel room, and the girls would bring their friends, and they'd all anytime we go to Washington. But anytime you could go, it was good to go to Third Edition. That was the big Georgetown hangout. Oh God. See, for me, it was just fun getting in because we were underage. And then there was another place, but Third Edition, I never liked Third Edition because you spent the entire time pushing. I mean, it was so freaking packed. I mean, I never liked going to these places because they were so freaking packed. When I was working in them and had a tray above my head, didn't mind whatsoever, because these guys learn real quick. When I'm coming through and I'm pushing you like this, you better stop dancing and don't bump me, because if you bump me and this is coming down, it's coming down on you. It's not coming down on me. They learned that one real fast. I got no problem with, but it was just, but my favorite was, there was a place that was around the corner, so that was on M Street, the far side from Washington downtown towards the Exorcist steps. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about that anymore, the young kids. And it was a bigger discotheque. It was a little bit, it wasn't the Georgetown kid crowd that went there, but it wasn't so, there was actually some room to move and breathe. But again, for me, it was fun getting in. And that was my favorite because there was a bunch of Marines or military guys who were, making extra money, who would work as bouncers. And, we were chatting them. We became friends with a couple of them because we would go in and every once in a while. It was my friend Amy. And so we got to know him, and we go, oh, hi, come by and that weekend. And one time the guy, he said, oh gosh, I really need to go to the bathroom. Can you just watch the door for me? So here I'm all like 16, 17 years old, and I'm carting people to get into the nightclub. For me, that was the coolest. Oh, that was cool. I don't care about, the drinking. I mean, of course you go. Oh, we used to get White Russians. It tasted like a milkshake. So that was Nathan. Sorry, I got off track on memory lane about Georgetown, because it's not like that. I mean, it's really gone down the hill. They're just not taking care of it. I mean, of course, with the downtown opening up since the 80s, it's it's lost a lot of its business. It used to be the only game in town. So Carol joined so unfortunately her husband, he had a heart attack, he died, and that's when her life exploded, and she found out about his shenanigans and that she was left holding the bag. So they came after her. The Innocent Spouse is a book that she wrote. So they came after her, and you gotta, you're responsible for this. And she's like, well, wait a second, I didn't know any of this was going on. Where were the accountants? Where were the lawyers? So in fact, it was Brendan Sullivan, she said in her book, who had advised her, because at first, you know, it was the ones that were going to help her, the law firm that was going to help her, the ones who had been the accountants and lawyer for her husband. He's like, I don't think that's a good idea because they got a conflict of interest and they're going to protect their interests, not yours. And they're going to look for a fall guy, which of course is what Carol Joint was. Because I have to agree with her that, you know, she didn't know. The accountants and the lawyers, they go to school for all of that. That's what their job is. They're being paid. They're the ones who should be held to account if you know, things were done improperly, unless of course they can prove that they didn't know. But to tell the wife, it's all on you. I mean, this is also a case that my family in Spain, when I was a jeune fille care, but I won't deviate on that right now. You know, this is all on you. That certainly is not fair. However, the you know, argument of the courts and the argument of the people is that she should have known. She should have known that the money was not there to be living this lifestyle. And on that, I agree. I mean, believe me, I was always with my ex-husband going, sorry, we don't have money for that. We don't have money for that. My favorite is he bought one of those espresso machines. And you have to understand, I really wanted to buy this, I think it's called Thermomix or something, but it was like €1,000. And I'm like, no, I got to get the business up, because he's like telling me that we lost our money. I mean, people would laugh at me because we weren't into debt, and you know, we bought the house at 80% of you know, equity, and I'm upset because we can't put down 100. I mean, this is also after 20 years of living abroad. That's what I told the expats, ladies. This is your nest egg, because if you were living in your home country, you would be putting equity towards a house. So you have to look at this not as some, you know, cash flow. You have to look at this of, okay, but at the end of 20 years, we're going to have to buy something, and we want to be able to buy, you know, not just it's like starting out when you're in your 20s. So I wanted to buy the Thermomix, but I wasn't going to buy it. One of my friends was like, oh, you can buy it on credit or something. I'm like, no. Clemency, you don't understand. I don't buy things like that. And so he comes home with an espresso machine. Okay, I'm not going to start a fight, but you know, one of my farmer maybe you buy a coffee machine. But manque de bol for my ex-husband. I saw one day he left the bill of how much he was paying for the coffee out. I guess he forgot to hide it. And in fact, our friends were there, and these are neighbors, and they're there, you know, lunch or dinner, and I looked and I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, coffee, this is the price of gold. That's ridiculous. I said, no, if you bring George Clooney here to the house to serve us the Nespresso coffees, then you can buy that coffee. But I said, ladies and gentlemen, our friends that were there, enjoy this coffee while there's still a stock here. This is over. I mean, you know, I'm worried sick. He's losing it. I won't go into what's going on at his work, and there's still tons of questions, but I'm trying to keep it together. trying to get my business, started and to provide an income from the family, because I don't know, how long he's going to still be at the bank. I don't know. It's a situation where I can't count on that future, and I've got to provide for all of us. So, it was more about the principle than so much the money, but everybody was laughing. And because all of them spend money all over the place. Oh my God, it was too funny. One time, one of them, her husband had bought her another car, and it was one of these Jeeps, convertible Jeeps. I mean, a lot of fun, a lot of cool to ride, drive around on the weekends at in the urbanization, or around. It wasn't to go to Madrid, or but I'm like, a car. So anyway, the other woman says she sees it because the woman's coming in the club, and we used to play paddle, all the boys and the fathers, and would play tennis. And she's driving in, and my friend says, her husband's right there. She goes, oh, look at it, I want one. And he just rolls his eyes, and he's like, oh Lord. And I said, Javier, you know what you do? You're, what is it? Wasn't a Golf, because I would never do that to a Golf. I forget, one of these small cars. It was an old car that they had as a second car, and he would go around on that. But it was an old car. And I said, Javier, you know what you do? You take that, you run it under a bridge, you suck it off, you slice off the top, and you say, here's your convertible. And he started cracking. So my lordlings, these are your assets too. This is your life too. This is your future too. This is the future of your children as well. Be a little more on top of what things cost and what's coming in and what's going out, and it makes any logical sense. So she did, I guess, kind of end up winning that. But when she came out with her book, I forget which year this would be, I went to the book signing. It was the DuPont Circle, to try and talk to her, because I'm on the committee by this time. I am the committee for the activists to get to the press. I mean, I wasn't gonna get on the committee for the law stuff because I'd already done it, but of course they weren't looking at that. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to the committee for the press. But then when the meeting was over and everybody went home, I'm like, okay, let's get to work. No one was to be found. I'm like, okay, I'm running with this by myself. So try, can you help us? No, I need to get, by this time, because she had tried to keep Nathan's running as well. No experience in running restaurants. And quite frankly, it was gonna, it was doomed to fail. I could have told her that at the time. If she, look at the books, lady, look at the numbers. Oh, she tried to get them to lower the price, and she wanted to do it for the employees to keep a job. Well, they only kept a job for a few years, and you got deeper in the hole in the process. Because she, I don't know, this, oh, I'll just, manage it. It's not so easy to manage a restaurant. And it is a very, very, very slim, you make a profit, you're lucky. And in fact, that case exposed to what extent these restaurants have been used as money laundering. Now that's been cleaned up quite a bit, at least in the States, or at least it was, maybe it's going back. But now the name of the game is they do these corporate, a lot of them have these corporate, so they keep on getting investors. Look at the numbers on those things. I'm sure when we get to the end of the line, we'll see these are Ponzi scheme type things, because there's no way they're putting out all of the money for all of the mismanagement that they're doing and wasting money all over the place and making a profit. That's why it's always sell, sell, sell. No, you guys, a lot of times, cut your costs. Sell, hard sell, hard sell, hard sell, hard sell, hard sell, sell, sell. So Carol Joint worked for Larry King. She was one of the producers for a long time with Larry King. And I believe it was Walter Cronkite who actually wanted to marry her, I guess, when her husband died, and she got in all of these financial, I think even Walter Cronkite, I believe it was him, had, asked her to marry him, and she didn't, but I think they were quite, very good friends. But see, another contact, well, use your contact not just for yourself, but to expose and clean up this city and this town. Now, Ann Pincus is on here as well, because that goes to Walter Pincus, because when I first came to DC, 1981, and worked for the senator, it was during the senior mini term of Foxcroft, and I rented a basement room from Walter and Ann Pincus. Oh, and I also remember I was invited one time for a, Sunday dinner, and I was like, ooh, this is like 1930 stuff. And effectively, Ann Pincus is one of these fourth breakers who wants to bring us back, and who was all on board to bring us back to the 1930s. And when everything exploded in Spain and I couldn't get any help from the consulate, CNN's ignoring me. That's the only, news outlet I can think of. I'm not getting help from my mother through John McCain, Jennifer Shaw, whose father is Congressman Clay Shaw, or he's deceased. I sent a letter to her as well, requesting assistance from her father. Just contact the consulate, please. And also through Astrid Betancourt, whose sister is Ingrid Betancourt, the former FARC captive and presidential candidate of Colombia, and was the wife at that time. She had been the mistress of Ambassador Daniel Parfait in Bogota when we had been there. That was when he was with his first wife, Nicole Parfait. I think she might be in here. Who was the honorary president of the FIA Bogota, okay? So, by this time, Astrid, Daniel Parfait is divorced, married to Astrid. They're living in Paris. I send a letter to her through him because I didn't have an address for them. She writes me back. It's one of the my activism websites and the documents, what a great mother is. The document is there in the court files, but doesn't mean shit. Nor does the letter from my friend, nicest letter anybody ever wrote to me. I was like, thank you. Everybody's spitting on me and trying to kill me. Nice to have something say nice. Somebody say nice. Somebody say something nice about you. So when that all, I'm like, who can I contact? Oh, Senator Johnston also got the letter. Ignored. And I called up his office. I hung up on the phone by the secretary. And Pincus basically did the same thing to me, because I sent them a letter, and I'm not sure if I sent them a letter, but I remember I called her, I spoke with her. I said, you know, my situation, I said, my husband's flipping out, he's gonna kill me, the courts are just, you know, breaking everything on the polls, the consulate won't help me. Oh, well, maybe you could contact the Associated Press and they might pick it up. See, this is the mentality of all of the women, not only in Washington, but everywhere. They don't want to deal with anything unpleasant. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to know. They just want to cover it up, because a lot of them are control freak abusers themselves. I remember one guy in a restaurant, waiter, he said, oh yeah, Ann Pincus, she's a real piece of work. And I agree. Okay, so that's them. Let's do, oh, well, I started with Ingrid Betancourt, so let's continue on there. So I went into Astrid and Ingrid, Betancourt, Nicole Parfait, you know, and then the last one is Patricia Etienne. She is the ambassador to France here in Washington's wife. Now, you know, the case that I've been building is the American government. I have the same case against the French government, because I also went to my consul there. And in fact, the consul, and when he's like, no, I'm like, okay, you're not going to help me. This is the third time I'm doing it. No. I said, okay. They want to either put me in jail or put me on a psychiatric ward. Where am I better off? And he said, in jail, because then you can ask to be deported to France and serve out your prison sentence there. That's the advice and assistance I get from my French consulate. So same case there, but I just, you know, I mean, if anybody is going to criticize my written Spanish, and I know, I was not trying to win any literary award. It's everybody's responsibility, you know, to understand me. It's not my responsibility to write Spanish perfectly. I never went to school in Spanish or French, and so yes, it's atrocious. But I do what I can. So, but it was just too much. I was, you know, I tried to do this all in French from the very beginning, and all the reports and the letters, because I have it in Spanish and English, but I couldn't keep up. So I had to leave the French on the back burner, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten them, nor do I not have a case against them. Because all I have to say is, you guys, look over at the Americans, ditto for you. So this, I, you know, kind of the case with the French, particularly. See, the French, because I did go to the French consulate here in Madrid when I first got back, explaining the situation, and my children were in Spain, and again, hang out to dry. So I did contact them. But also, I'm a French citizen here in the United States. So all of the labor rights violations and housing rights violations, I have the right to request assistance and protection from my French government, from my American government and its institutions. So of course, I mean, I'm not going to go to the consulate on this because, you know, so I wrote a letter to the ambassador's wife. The residence is right near here in Calorama. So I walked it over and hand delivered in the mailbox. So I know it got delivered. You know, I don't have proof from the post office, but I know it did. I think my word's good enough these days. I've done enough of, he got it here. I got the post office receipt. Well, this one didn't because I hand delivered it. When Williams got a hand delivered and Bob Woodward got it hand delivered, Carol Joint got a hand delivered. So that's, you know, throws it back in the game. I haven't heard back from him. That was just recently, before I guess the Kumo stuff came out. So that goes in there. Let's do Melania, because this gets into internet, you know, immigrant women. Melania Trump. Let's see. Okay, I think I might have already talked about this in another video. It was the Foxcroft reunion 2020 when one of the it was Dee Dee Matz, I do believe, I'm not positive, Dee Dee Alexander Matz, who was asking me if my kids had ever lived in the United States, like that had any relevance, whether the American government would have an obligation to protect and assist them. I wasn't gonna pursue it in the Zoom reunion, but I was like, what's this about? Well, there were several things that bothered me with that, but so see, the thing is, this is going to be really problematic. I did talk about this for those, for example, in the international community here in Washington, D.C. What happens to your children? For example, you know, you get into RICO, all your assets are seized, you're deported to your home country. Well, they won't have any rights there because they've never lived there. They're no longer considered citizens because they never lived there. That's the bottom line. You know, you can't have it both ways. You can have your cake and eat it too. So, you know, Melania, their son, is he gonna lose, is he gonna become a stateless, rightsless person? I don't know what's gonna happen with his father. His mother would, because she was an immigrant. You know, this is my big thing. I mean, this is a perfect example we see all of the time with the expats, you know, jackass men that, you know, their own country's women don't want to have anything to do with. Yeah, they can do better than that. So it's poor immigrant women who don't care, just as long as you know, they can live the good life. That's the great American dream. So, you know, there we go. So let's, yeah. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oops, I didn't give myself a card yet. Okay, I got a king of diamonds. And I got the 8. So with Carol Joint and Ann Pincus, we got, which was Brillig, and the Slithy Toves did gyre and gimble in the wave. Okay, again, gobbledygook. I guess I'm gonna have to read up on Alice in Wonderland a little bit more, but I guess gobbledygook and cacophony, I guess it was appropriate for Carol Joint and Ann Pincus. Then for Ingrid Betancourt, Astrid Betancourt, Nicole Parfait, and Patricia Etienne. Oh, this one gets 2. We've got King of Hearts. Consider, my dear, she is only a child. Maybe these little ladies would think more about the children of the world rather than, you know, jet setting. Oh, Nicole Parfait, I'm sorry, is a typical intellect. I had asked her if she would take a little bit more, you know, it would take a more active role within Bogota when I became president, because I knew if I had her support, the little viperous bitches that tried to oust me, I'm sure that story will come on, it wouldn't have tried what they did. But she's too, you know, she's this intellect, you know, PhD, you know, very intellectual, and doesn't bother herself with the little people. This is my big beef with a lot of these ambassadors' wives, and Anne Sinclair of the IMF Family Association, Dr. Kim's wife, Adele Malpass, her name will come up. So consider, my dear, they are only children, while you are having your little cake. So for Melania, oh, here we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got the fiat in there. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for Melania, we've got, oh, I beg your pardon. Yes, I beg your pardon. All you little social climbing. You know, and I don't discriminate. I don't care if you're American or a foreigner. You're a whore, you're a whore. Scandalous. How could I call the former first lady or the president or the any other of them? Oh, it's fake, it's fake. Okay, so for me, you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I don't know about anybody else out there. Well, I mean, I've been writing thousands of pages and spending the past 15 years studying and putting everything together. And I'm sorry, Governor, I don't want to, you know, enjoy myself at anybody's expense. Okay, so, and I'm making money. We got here. Okay. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to try and wrap this up. Okay, so we've got the Alpha-Dominance Feminists, feminist NGOs. They're enslaving homemakers. World Bank, IMF, UN Women, World Bank Family Network, IMF, and also all of their gender. They have tons and tons of gender stuff. I'm sure that there's a story in that one that'll come up, but I want to wrap it up. So here we've got the housing rights violations, domestic violence. Okay, I get this because I was thinking with Chelsea Kilman. So with that case, that's how I end up in DC Landlord Tenant Court. Basically, okay, so what it was there was a joint liability clause on the contract. But I didn't know this girl. And when, I mean, as I said, I want to try and wrap this up. So that was upheld by the judge. I was like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I said, what you just did was marry me to this woman in a city where same-sex marriage, in a country we're still discussing same-sex marriage, and you married me without my permission. Because that's the only, you know, relationship where I would be liable for the debts of this person. And she's already moved out. Now, wait a second. If I'm liable, then she's liable. And I told the landlord, I said, you know what? If you're going to come after me on this crap, then you better also go after her, because I'll come after you on discrimination. Why did you come after me and not my wife? Because if I'm liable and a judge says that I'm liable, basically he just married me to the woman. Now I want to know how to get a divorce. See how these things are producing jurisprudences that are crazy. Also, from then on, this is one of the things that I told this landlord. I told him, you know what? I'm actually still married to Chelsea Kilman. You guys can go after her as well. I'll go after you for discrimination if you don't also go after my wife. How is the judge going to explain in the international court how he's marrying women without their permission in DC landlord tenant courts? Okay, so then, oh shoot, did I take one from the other one? I guess I am getting tired. Okay, I'm gonna just do one. Then we've got the domestic violence NGOs, Winnie Mandela, Reign of Terror. We see this all the time, you know. This was Nelson Mandela's first wife, maybe the second, definitely not the last, but she was involved in all sorts of, you know, human rights violations. I don't remember all of the, you know, details, but she became a terrorist. This is all the time. Oh, and I saw a very, very good documentary one time about South Africa, about the new under white class, the new poor white class. That, you know, when apartheid was ended, they just had this, you know, affirmative action and payback, and it's created a lot of problems in South Africa. A lot of racial tension. So, you know, and with South Africa, Gandhi, before India, he was in South Africa. He had gone to England, that's where he studied. Then he was in South Africa and he was a lawyer there, and he wanted equal rights for Indians as British subjects in South Africa. But he wasn't, you know, reclaiming equal rights for everybody, all colored people, just the Indians. Then when he went to India, and in fact, a lot of the Indians know he was a deadbeat dad. He was a deadbeat dad. That's why I'm like, yeah, like, you know, it does no good to sit there in a robe on the streets. You may get some people to listen to you, but you know, and then I'm pretty sure it's his daughter. Same power hungry stuff. And, you know, Gandhi, he wasn't, you know, this has had the same, India has gone down the same path as everybody else. So yet another case study of how we see these revolutionary and these movements have not produced the great countries that they all contend that they have, and that these people were not the great heroes that everybody contends. So here we get into Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria, the Queen Mother, which is Elizabeth's mother, Lord Mountbatten, Prince Philip, Princess Alice. Okay, so I think I already mentioned, like with Prince Harry logs, I didn't finish those. And I got quite a bit of material still to cover there, but you know, basically what that is showing how Queen Victoria, tiny little woman and hysterical. I don't have time to get into this, but this gets into Freud. A hoarder as well. And I'm sorry, a drama queen with her husband dying. No, this was not some perfect marriage. I mean, this is your typical drama queen. And had a whole bunch of slew of, you know, a brood of children. You know, having it all. This lady didn't have anything. She had it all and she screwed it all up. It was her children squabbling that led us into, you know, the World War I and World War II. I'm sure it was here, you know, here I'm going to unite all of Europe and globalization. Well, this was not responsible globalization, because you raised dysfunctional children that raised other dysfunctional children, and it goes on and on. And see, this gets into Harry with the royal families across Europe. Oh, that's another bag of worms. All of the bag of worms. Oh, and Queen Mother. I would have to go into the Wikipedia again. The Queen Mother, who is Elizabeth's mother, at least according to Lady Colin Campbell, real social climber, and very she because her husband was what's Elizabeth, her second's father? I can't think of it right now. I see I'm getting tired. You know, she was the ambitious one. Oh, and she loved, you know, the clothes and all of that stuff. See, this is again, this is where I'll get into Princess Alice. Princess Alice was Prince Philip's mother. Prince Philip recently passed. You know, Queen Elizabeth's husband. Now, Princess Alice, she was, let's see, she was aunt. I'm trying to remember, but you know, all of them. So anyway, Princess Alice was married to one of the princes of Greece. I forget which, you know, where he was in line for the throne. And he was blamed for the failure of the Great Greek-Turk War. I forget which year this would have been. And I think he, you know, may or may not have you know, been responsible, whatever, but he kind of took blame. Now, Princess Alice had written some, you know, expose or essay, I assume, I'd like to read it, defending him. But I'm sure that was, you know, a huge blow to his ego, because he actually, the others, I'm pretty sure, my memory serves me, you know, they were executed. He was able to leave Greece. He wasn't executed. The best one went to Paris. They lived in Saint-Cloud, I believe. outside in the suburbs of Paris. And that's when Princess Alice became ill. And, you know, she'd written this essay. She was not a stupid woman by any means. She was born deaf. And she learned to lip read 5 different languages, and she could speak 5 different languages. This was not a stupid woman at all. So, you know, perhaps her husband also got very, very jealous and also taking out the frustrations of his humiliation, because here he is humiliated and penniless. You know, most of them, they lived thanks to the family members. So I imagine the abuse in the home was, you know, escalating. And I'm talking about the emotional as much as any physical that might have happened. And so apparently she became very religious. I don't know. This is the story. But see, this is, you know, he wants a scapegoat, or he you know, is unhappy and wants a new fling, whatever the reason may have been. But she was sent to a psychiatric ward. And I mean, you read through that, diagnosed with schizophrenia. She was never schizophrenic. And you do not, somebody does not all of a sudden have schizophrenia at that age. Then manifest. I mean, you know, and also she was saying that she wasn't, you know, there was something wrong with her. She kept trying to get out of and Freud was one of the people who signed off on putting her in there. With Freud another time, then that's a whole other can of worms. So she was finally, you know, laid out, but I'm not sure if they put her back in or not, but she was effectively sterilized. I mean, they just initiated menopause, early menopause on her, with her mother's signing off on that one. I think, you know, mom might have even been behind that, because God forbid she should have more children. And they took Prince Philip from her. And I mean, she, you know, that was something for her, horrible for her, you know, her entire adult life. And, you know, they're like, oh, she was very strange, because after getting out of the psychiatric ward, she didn't go back to her family, but just kind of wandered around Europe for a few years. I read, you know, she would like sit there at the window just staring at it. I'm sure she was just totally, you know, lost and betrayed by her family. And then she goes to Greece. Now, which I forget, you know, Greek history, I'm not my forte, but so this would have been a, you know, revolution. Anyway, bombs and fighting, and or maybe this is World War II. Sorry, my memory, I'm not sure exactly, but there's bombs all over the place. My favorite story with her is they're like, you can't go out there, you can't go out there. They're, you know, the bombs, and they might kill you. She said, you know what? I'm deaf, I won't hear them coming. Well, she even tried to sell like some, you know, some of the stones that she had to start, because she did start convent or sorry, again, I'm all my terminology in religion is not very good. But she did start a religious order. But you know, she was the only one of the Greek family to stay in Greece and stay there with the people and, you know, live in poverty. I think there's a movie or something with this, and they're like, this is you know, a princess dressed like a nun. And then eventually the last 2 years of her life, she did go to Buckingham Palace And I guess they were like, you know, we got to get her out. Because also, I think somebody in her family, maybe her brother, I think her brother, I believe, is that to do with Lord Mountbatten? It's again, this I still got to do all my royal family stuff. So no, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, finish this up. So anyway, she did stay there. Oh, I remember her brother would like send her food or something, but he would get pissed off because she'd give it all away. It's for you. And so she did go to Buckingham Palace, but you know, there was letters that she had written to Prince Philip, and that had a huge detrimental impact on Prince Philip, to be taken from his mother. I think he was 8 or 9, and his, you know, he was shuffled around from, he never knew which relatives he was going to spend vacation with. And then the poor man also, he lost a sister in an airplane crash. Horrible. But the Prince Philip's brother-in-laws were Nazis. One was an SS Nazi. So that again, when I get into the European stuff, that's not what I'm working on right now. But so see, now Lord Mountbatten, again, I'm forgetting exactly who he's related to. I know there's he's somewhere in it, but this is extremely interesting because, okay, Lord Mountbatten was very, very influential in Prince Charles's life, because I guess that, you know, there wasn't a great relationship with Prince Philip. They're very, very different. And Lord Mountbatten was kind of a second father, surrogate father to Prince Charles. However, Lord Mountbatten also was a pedophile. He, we look on his Wikipedia, it was an orphanage that have accused him. And I mean, it pretty much fits. Accused him, you know, of the same thing as the priests. And of course, because there's even one chauffeur who says, yeah, he would take boys from there and bring them to wherever Mountbatten was. You know, 8, 9-year-old kids, boys, and they've also testified. Of course, the you know, the whatever Buckingham Palace, it's not Buckingham Palace, it's, you know, but the HH service or in England, oh no, that never happened. Just like always. But why did they go for the orphanages and things like that? Because I'm sure Prince Charles would be like, no, never, because he never would have touched Prince Charles. But there's more than substantial evidence that, I mean, it's smoking gun stuff. And Lord Mountbatten was very influential in a lot of the how shall I say, family maneuvering. So this is somebody who, well, you know, read some biographies and look into a lot more in order to understand. But see, once again, he was an outsider and he was going to make his mark within the you know, the royal family and the British crown. And he certainly did. Certainly had no influence. So then we get Betty Friedan and Riane Eisler. Quickly, okay, Betty Friedan, I've already spoke about. She started the feminist movement in the 60s with the feminist publication of the Feminine Mystique. The problem with No Name was that you were boring. You were a bored housewife because you were boring. and you wanted to be a writer. Bottom line. But it came in very, very handy, that little book for the Fourth Reichers. Oh, bunch of bullshit. So Riane Eisler. Riane Eisler, she has all sorts of books, The Blade and the Chalice, all sorts of books out there. She was, her family, I think maybe Hungarian, can't remember, but you know, Jews from Europe from World War II, refugees, and she remembers, you know, being young and the problems that they faced, and you know, has, I don't know, doctorates. And one of the victim activists even said to me, she was like, "Oh my God, you sound like Riane Eisler when you talk." And I said, "Yeah, we're on the same page, everything. Only difference is I don't have all of these books and I don't have all of these PhDs, and my research has been from a, you know, a different place, if you will. But we come to the same conclusions." She's a lawyer. Well, I'm not getting any assistance. She was on the screen when I went 2015 for the Battered Mothers Custody Conference. She was a speaker as well, but you know, online, and up on a screen. Again, sell books and give speeches. Oh gosh, so I gotta give it here. Okay, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Women's National Democratic Club, Nucci Courier, Elizabeth Warren 2020. Okay, Elizabeth Warren 2020, if she listened to me, she would have won. And I'm sorry, it would have been much better than Biden Harris. Women's National Democratic Club, Nucci Courier, when after the day after the 2016 elections and Hillary Clinton lost, I was passing by the Women's National Democratic Club, DuPont Circle, and so I went in and I'm talking to the receptionist. She said, "Oh my goodness, you should be on our panel discussion that we canceled because Hillary didn't, it was for tomorrow, but we canceled because Hillary Clinton didn't win, but we're rescheduling." I said, "Yeah, I know I should." She gives me the number of Nucci Courier, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. When I speak with her, and she found out that I didn't have a book or a documentary to promote. Oh, there's somebody at the door, I gotta go. I've used that one too. Hillary Clinton versus Nancy Pelosi. Not much difference in these Alpha-Dominance feminists. My favorite story with Nancy Pelosi is when she sends me on the back of the line at Mom's Rising conference when I get up for my second question because she didn't like my first. So I'm going to leave the others. So anyway, there we are. That's the game for today. So anyway, thank you. Have a good night.